Why you should never stay at a shady roadside motel. In 2005, a young woman was driving alone across the country and decided to stop for the night because she was exhausted. She pulled into the first place she saw, a run-down and cheap-looking spot called the Mountaintop Motel, and told herself it was good enough for one night. When she checked in, the man at the front desk stared at her in a way that made her uncomfortable and asked if she was traveling alone. She ignored the question, paid for the room, took the key, and walked away. Once inside the room, she immediately noticed cockroaches crawling on the bed, which made her decide not to stay there. She left the room and chose to sleep in her locked car in the motel parking lot instead. Around 3 a.m., she woke up and saw the same front desk man using his own keys to enter the room she had been assigned. A few minutes later, he stormed out angrily, slammed the door, and started walking toward her car. Terrified, she hid under a blanket as he tried to open her car doors, but when he couldn't get in, he eventually walked away. She quickly drove off and called a friend, asking them to look up the motel's address so she could report it to the police. After a brief pause, her friend told her something chilling. The Mountaintop Motel had closed a week earlier. She thought that was the end of it. She was wrong. After her friend said the motel had closed a week earlier, she laughed nervously and said it had to be a mistake. Her friend didn't laugh back. She said the listing showed the building was condemned after a string of disappearances that were never solved. No staff, no guests, no business license, nothing. The call dropped. As she drove, her phone lost signal. The road felt longer than it should have. The darkness outside her headlights felt thick, like it was pressing in. She kept checking her mirrors, telling herself she was being paranoid. Then she noticed something that made her chest tighten. The same car headlights had been behind her for miles. She sped up. The car stayed. She slowed down. It slowed too. Her heart started racing. She told herself it was coincidence, but deep down she already knew it wasn't. She took a sudden turn onto a dirt road without signaling. Dust filled the air. The headlights behind her followed instantly. That's when she screamed. She floored the gas and didn't stop until she reached a gas station glowing like a lighthouse in the dark. She jumped out of the car and ran inside, begging the clerk to call the police. When she looked back outside, the car was gone. No headlights, no engine sound, just empty road. The police arrived an hour later. They listened politely, took notes, asked questions. Then one officer said something that made her stomach drop. They had been getting calls about that motel for years. People reported lights turning on inside, cars parked outside overnight, and sometimes screams. But every time officers went to check, the building was empty. Doors chained shut, windows boarded up, no signs of life. She insisted she had been inside a room. She described the man at the desk in detail, his voice, his stare, his keys. The officer's face changed. He told her that description matched someone who used to work there, a man who disappeared after being questioned in connection with multiple missing travelers. His body was never found. Then came the detail no one warned her about. Every missing person had one thing in common. They were all traveling alone. She didn't sleep that night, or the next. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the man's hand on the door handle, heard the click of keys, felt the certainty that if she had stayed in that room, she would have vanished too. Weeks passed. Life tried to go back to normal. She told herself she survived, that it was over. Then a letter arrived. No return address, no stamp. Inside was a single motel key, faded, rusted, with one thing engraved on it, her room number. She dropped it immediately. Her hands shook. She called the police, but when they arrived, the key was gone. The officer suggested stress, trauma, maybe a prank. That night, she dreamed of the motel again. This time, every room was occupied, people banging on doors, crying, begging to be let out. And behind the desk stood the man, smiling, holding a ring of keys that never ended. She woke up, gasping for air. The next morning, she searched the motel online again. This time, new reviews had appeared, recent ones, posted within days. Cheap and quiet, staff was a little strange, but it worked for one night. Wouldn't recommend if you're alone. The dates were current. That's when she understood something horrifying. The motel wasn't closed. It was waiting for tired drivers, waiting for people who say good enough, waiting for anyone who ignores that uneasy feeling in their gut. And here's the reward for staying to the end, because this matters more than the story itself. Every survivor reported the same thing. The moment they trusted their instinct and left, they lived. The ones who stayed were never seen again. So if you're ever on a long drive, exhausted, desperate for sleep, and you see a place that feels wrong but convenient, remember this story. Remember that fear exists for a reason, because sometimes the scariest part isn't the motel, it's the choice to stay. Would you listen to your instincts or risk becoming another locked room with the lights still on?